Thanks, Tyler, and thank you for tuning in to the Amherst Weekly Report.
Welcome to the Amherst Weekly Report, produced by Amherst Media Interns. I'm Emma Rothwells. On Wednesday, October 25th at 11 a.m., dozens of students and community members at Hampshire College walked out of their classes and gathered outside of Franklin Patterson Hall in support of a ceasefire in Palestine. This was part of a national walkout across college campuses organized by Students for Justice in Palestine, or SJP, and dissenters chapters. In addition to an immediate end to Israel's siege, Nation College dissenters and SJP chapters were calling for universities to divest from weapons manufacturers like Raytheon and Lockheed Martin that supply the Israeli military. Protests like this one have become incredibly frequent since the October 7th attack on Israel by the Palestinian group Hamas. Israel has since responded with countless bombings, airstrikes, and attacks. Since the attack on October 7, over 1,400 Israelis and over 8,000 Palestinians have been killed. As of October 31st, the New York Times estimates that between 38,000 and 44,500 buildings throughout the Gaza Strip have been damaged or destroyed. While military action, protest, and awareness has increased since October 7th, it's important to remember that this October is not the start of this conflict. The attack by Hamas is in direct retaliation of Israel's 56-year occupation of Palestine. During those 56 years, more and more rights have been taken away from Palestinians. Palestinians have had restricted access to water, are unable to leave the West Bank, unable to utilize their own land for agriculture development, are unable to vote, and are restricted from protesting or petitioning the Israeli government. Since October 7th, Palestinians have experienced deliberate blackouts of their internet, data usage, electricity, and sources of fuel. On Monday, October 30th, Hampshire College SJP organized a sit-in at college president Ed Wingenbach's office, calling for him to correct misinformation and Islamophobia in his initial statement about the October 7th attack and condemn the killing of Palestinians that has taken place since the initial attack. The group planned for the sit-in to last until the president crafted a revised statement, which happened by the end of the day on the 30th. Through the action of the SJP, Wingenbach became the first U.S. college president to condemn the killing of Palestinians. Last week, we brought you the news that 56 UMass students and one employee were arrested for trespassing on the night of Wednesday, October 25th, while conducting a peaceful pro-Palestine sit-in at the Whitmore Administrative Building. The protesters were, and still are, demanding for Chancellor Javier Reyes to take a stand with Palestine and for the university to cut ties with Raytheon, a weapons supplier for Israel. All 57 protesters have now had their arraignment hearings and all pleaded not guilty to trespassing. At neighboring Amherst College on Wednesday, November 11th, the student organization Amherst for Palestine organized a rally outside of the college's Johnson Chapel, where inside, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey spoke about civic engagement and the current political landscape. Following Hamas's attack, October 7th attack, Governor Healey expressed her support for Israel at a gathering in the Boston Commons, stating, "Our support is unwavering. Massachusetts stands with Israel now and always, today and on all the days ahead." The protesters stationed themselves at the two main exits of the building and screamed chants with the hope that Governor Healey would face them. Two organizers of the rally, Caden and Willow, explained that their goal for the night was for Governor Healey to call for a ceasefire. Caden went on to say that putting pressure on politicians to condemn Israeli violence is necessary for change. Amongst the protesters was a Palestinian student from Mount Holyoke, who told us that she feels the world is taking a silent stance on the killing of her people, and that it is her job to be the voice of the voiceless. In addition to students, Amherst professors and community members were present in the crowd. As attendees of the talk exited the chapel, they faced the crowd of students chanting. However, Governor Healy did not interact with protesters or call for a ceasefire. According to a post on Amherst for Palestine's Instagram account, she did drive by the protest. Amherst for Palestine will continue to organize and call for its demands to be met. These demands include the college's divestment from companies that support Israel, namely Boeing and Leidos, an end to the study abroad program at Haifa University, which operates on an apartheid-like system against Palestinians, and for the college to release a statement explicitly naming and condemning the genocide of Palestinians. In other news, on October 19th, the Amherst Historical Commission, several library trustees, and library staff met to review the latest designs for the renovation of the Jones Library. The Jones Library is set to undergo a 2-year-long $43.5 million renovation. Since the almost 100-year-old building has historical significance to the town, it is necessary for the Historical Commission to first review and approve the planned renovations to ensure as much of the historical elements as possible are maintained. Feingold Alexander Architects, or FAA, and Berkshire Design Group have been working to lay out the renovation and interior design plans for the building. Library Trustee President Austin Surratt stated during the meeting that, quote, "When we chose Feingold Alexander, we chose them in large part because they had demonstrated record of doing what we wanted them to, and a big part of that was historical preservation." The primary changes approved by the Commission include the addition of a new book drop in the front facade of the building and using synthetic slate to replace the roof tiles. Commissioners expressed concerns over the book drop, as the new one will be automated to sort the books after a deposit. Commission member Hetty Startup said she was worried about how a mechanical addition to the facade will create a, quote, historical dissonance, as the original building was constructed to resemble a home. There was also discussion about the automatic book sorter being placed in the historic library director's office, as the director's office was the only place an automatic sorter could reasonably fit. Another issue concerning the Commission was the historic Whipple window, which is currently a part of the 1993 expansion wing that is set to be demolished in order to accommodate new expansions. Tony Shao from FAA suggested for the window to be added into an interior wall in order to create a visual communication between the spaces. The other option he added was to place the window onto a wall and have it backlit by artificial light. Commissioner Pat Auth found this idea as an appealing way to showcase the window's historical and architectural significance. Now over to Emily Taranelli for the Sports Report.
Thanks, Emma. It's championship season. Fall sports are wrapping up across the 5 colleges and winter sports are taking their place. Beginning with Amherst College, the weekend of October 28th saw NESCAC Conference Championships galore. Men's and women's cross country competed at the conference meet at home, both finishing as the runner-up out of 11 teams each. Meanwhile, field hockey defeated Tufts University in the NESCAC quarterfinal 3-2, and as the 7th seed in the NESCAC will go on to play number 1 seed Middlebury College next week. Women's soccer also defeated Tufts University 3-1, securing a spot in the soccer semifinals as the 6th seed. On the men's side, the Mammoths beat Wesleyan University 1-0, punching a ticket to the NESCAC semifinals alongside the women's team. Overall, the Mammoths fall sports teams had a strong season. Men's cross country consistently clocked in as the runner-up across a number of invitationals, while the women placed just as high, even winning 2 of the meets. Ahead of the semifinal matchup, field hockey's season record lies at 10-6, while men's soccer rests at 11-3 and women's soccer at 14-1. Moving on to UMass, the men's and women's cross-country teams competed at the Atlantic 10 Championships, hosted at the Elvin R. King Course in Dayton, Ohio. The Minutemen placed 3rd out of 15, while the Minutewomen placed 5th. Loyola University got the winning title across both the men's and women's teams. As for soccer, the women's team was booted from the Atlantic 10 tournament bracket after a 2-1 loss against Duquesne University, while the men have yet to compete until next week. As a whole, women's soccer wrapped up the season with a season record of 9-5-4, while men's soccer currently sits at 7-5-5. Women's cross country consistently placed in the top 5 in their meets throughout the season, winning 2, while the men performed similarly, winning 1. Thanks for following along with the fall sports season. Tune in next time where we'll begin our coverage of winter sports. Back to you, Emma.
Thanks, Emily. The UMass Amherst Theater Department recently performed a play called The Hatmaker's Wife by Lauren Yee, with performances starting on October 27th and finishing on November 4th in the Curtin Theater at the Brommery Center for the Arts. The show was directed by Gina Kaufman, a theater professor at UMass. The play told a story about a lazy hatmaker struggling to find love for his wife, as well as the coinciding story of a newlywed couple trying to figure out their feelings for each other shortly after moving in together. The PR team for the UMass Amherst Theater Department posted a brief description of the play that said, quote, "In Lauren Yee's whimsical comedy with a heart, a lost young woman moves in with her boyfriend, expecting to find domestic bliss. But before she does, she must contend with her magical new home." There was a cast of 8 actors in the show, which included Doug Edwards as Hetchman, Caliska Wiley as Hetchman's wife, Aaron Mancaniello as Meckel, Araceli Sierra as Voice, Cameron Hoskins as Gabe, Sonny Nordberg as Gollum, Claudia Moreno as Wall, and Darrow Sherman as the live musician. Upon arrival at the venue, Darrow Sherman played the fiddle for guests as they waited in the Curtin Theater lobby. Sherman later accompanied the entire performance with the fiddle as the actor performed on stage. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Amherst Weekly Report. I'm Emma Rothwells. We'll see you at the same time next week.